And sort of like what Bill Center was alluding to at the beginning of our session, Seattle's a great place in part because it's kind of like Kevin Bacon and 6 Degrees of Separation. I actually worked at IBM with Stephen Locke, who's a relation of Gary's and was a proud supporter of Gary when he was much more active, and it's great to see Gary still in the area. As you may know, Gary's the past governor of the state of Washington, but the first Chinese American to be elected governor in United States history, and the first Asian American governor on the mainland. He's also served as the US Secretary of Commerce and the US Ambassador to China. Gary's been a real leader in areas of education, employment, trade, healthcare, human rights, immigration reform, privacy, and the environment. Currently, Gary serves as the interim president of Bellevue College, which is the 3rd largest higher education institution in Washington state, serving over 30,000 students annually. Gary, the podium is yours.
Let's see. All right. Well, thank you very much, Jeffrey. And thanks, Admiral Bill Center, for the shout out at the beginning of the program as well. I know our time is limited, and so I'll try to be as brief as I can. And we have some, you don't want to just look at a talking face, especially on a computer. So we have some slides to break up the monotony of just a talking head. But let me just say that I very much appreciate the great work of the, oh, wait a second. Not yet. Not yet. I very much appreciate the great work of the Seattle Rotary, all the work that you do, not just in our community, but all across the world. It's too bad that we're not able to meet in person. I think this COVID-19 has really cramped our style and has really made interactions of people very, very difficult. And we're all confronted by the ravages of the coronavirus. So many businesses that are on life support, so many people still out of work or working less hours, the cancellation of family celebrations and get-togethers, whether it's to celebrate weddings or graduations, and of course, the inability to get together to mourn the loss of loved ones. And that's all on top of the other problems that we're facing in our community, whether it's growing income inequality, climate change, homelessness, the polarization of our politics, whether it's locally and even nationally. And of course, now the ongoing issues of discrimination and racism. I really hope that all of our colleges and universities, public and private, 4-year, 2-year, can partner with organizations, community organizations like the Boys and Girls Clubs of King County and also the Rotary to really tackle a lot of these issues. And I think organizations and governments really need to turn to our institutions of higher education to help solve some of these challenging issues. Let me just start off by sharing a little bit more about Bellevue College. And our campus is really located on 100 wooded acres, about 5 miles from downtown Bellevue, and just 10 minutes from downtown Seattle. We also have a smaller campus located near Microsoft. Bellevue College, as Jeff was indicated, is our 3rd largest institution, public institution in the state of Washington after the University of Washington and WSU. We are Washington State's largest open admission institution in the sense that you don't have to have a minimum grade point and SAT scores to enroll. We take everybody, and we take people from various stages in their educational level and work with them to help them achieve their dreams and their aspirations. Our students come from all over, from Renton all the way up to Bothell and beyond, from Seattle all the way to North Bend. And in fact, we have some people outside of the Puget Sound area. Our students are traditionally a little bit older. As the chart indicates, the average age is about 23 years old, many of them with young families, and they're working either full-time or part-time. We actually prepare more students for transfer to the 4-year universities than any other community college in Washington State. The University of Washington loves us. We are the largest source of transfer students to the University of Washington. than any other community technical college. In fact, transfer students from the community technical colleges graduate at a rate of about 90% from the UW, compared to about 78, 79, 80% of incoming freshmen at the University of Washington. So our community colleges, and Bellevue College being the primary source, is prepares our students well to graduate from the University of Washington. In addition to the University of Washington and Washington State University, our students also transfer to schools like Stanford, Harvard, and Columbia. We also offer some four-year degree programs in addition just to being a traditional community technical college. We offer now 12 bachelor's degrees in high-demand specialized fields, including computer science, information systems and technology, healthcare, digital marketing, interior design, and 3 of these different programs are completely online with students from all across the United States. Some of our programs are very, very highly rated. Payscale.com ranked Bellevue College Washington State's top community college by earning potential for those with just a 2-year degree. Annual tuition and fees at Bellevue College start at around $4,500. Compare that to the University of Washington or WSU or even Western, where you're talking about $8,000 to almost $12,000 a year just in terms of tuition and fees. And of course, if you're living on campus, that's another $10,000 for room and board. Note that Western Governors University, which is completely online, WGU on the chart, which is completely online, the tuition for a year is $7,000 a year. And so community college, all of our community technical colleges throughout the state, and Bellevue College is one of them, certainly is a great bargain. As a parent of an about-to-be sophomore in high school, I've actually taken a personal interest in another program that Bellevue College and all of the community technical colleges offer, and that's the Running Start program. Running Start's program gives all 11th and 12th grade students in high school the opportunity to take college courses in a college setting. Students can take just a few college courses while attending high school or complete their entire high school junior and senior years at Bellevue College. So it gives those high school students the opportunity to advance their coursework, save time, and challenge themselves academically in a college setting. Even better, tuition is free. For virtually all students, tuition is free, and they can take just a few college courses or a full normal academic load. And so by participating in Running Start, students can actually enter the University of Washington or WSU or any other four-year school as a sophomore or as a junior. And this will obviously significantly reduce the cost of a college education. Each year, we have some 2,500 Running Start students, more than any other community technical college in the state of Washington. And when you think about it, with all of our high schools in the Puget Sound area going online this coming fall, why not sign up for Running Start and get your college credit at the same time? So it's a really tremendous opportunity for students to jumpstart their college career. We also have workforce education and professional development programs at Bellevue College, which help people re-enter or enter for the first time the workforce, or simply just to upgrade their skills in high-demand jobs using industry-developed professional and technical programs. So all of our courses are actually designed by industry to ensure that the graduates, when they come out, can quickly and readily jump into the workforce. And this program is really critical, especially in these uncertain economic times. We also have a large component of international students, more than 1,400, coming from 60 different countries around the world, not just Asia, when most people think of international students, but actually coming from Africa as well and other parts of the world. You know, these international students really bring a very different life experiences and perspectives into the classroom thereby enriching the educational experience for everyone in the classroom, including the faculty. And the personal relationships that are formed really foster a sense of global connection that can't be duplicated by even the best high-speed internet bandwidths. International students, by the way, pay a little bit more than the actual cost of education, and therefore are helping to subsidize the cost of programs for our in-state students. With that, let me turn to some of the challenges that we're facing at Bellevue College. I'd like to talk about three of them. The transition to online learning. The second, the ongoing issues of racism and discrimination in our society, particularly in regards to Black Lives Matter, as well as trying to heal the campus from the aftermath of the recent art mural defacement. And third, the economic impact that COVID-19 is having on state funding for higher education, for public higher education. The state's shift to delivering almost all instruction remotely within a few days in March is really a remarkable testament to the creativity and the flexibility of our faculty and staff. It wasn't easy or comfortable, but the entire campus really came together to ensure that students can continue their education and stay on course to reach their career goals and their academic goals and to graduate. Last spring, in fact, we awarded almost 2,500 bachelor's and associate degrees, certificates, and diplomas, which was really a tremendous achievement for our faculty, staff, and the students themselves. That's not to say that we've perfected online learning or that there aren't challenges that still need to be addressed. I think we were able to make the switch quickly because, and virtually all of our community technical colleges across the state were able to do so because so many of their courses were already either completely online or a hybrid in which there was a lot of use of technology in the first place. But we still have challenges. We still need to really make sure that we're continuing to improve the quality of the online instruction so that it's really an enriching experience in terms of attention, in terms of the quality, the content, but also ensuring interaction between faculty and students and even discussion among the students. We're going to be online this fall, and I think virtually all of our institutions of higher education are going to be online this fall. And perhaps because the vaccine probably won't be available for people well into late spring or the summer, we may actually also be online for the winter quarter, which is January through March. And that's going to be very, very challenging. You know, our students are, as I said, are typically older, juggling a family, a job, and of course, their education, their coursework. So when the pandemic hit, it really left so many people out of work. That really hit our students very, very hard. How do they pay for tuition? How do they support their families? How do they pay for rent if they are out of work? And the biggest issues facing our students were access to technology. A lot of our students don't have access to high-speed internet, so how can they actually continue to pursue their education online if they don't have high-speed internet? And you know, and if Starbucks is closed, you can't use that hotspot to get online. The other issues were cost of books and supplies, food, and housing. Thank goodness we also had Federal CARES Act funding available, and we were able to award emergency financial aid grants to some over 1,300 students. And then the Bellevue College Foundation has a safety net fund that supported additional students who did not qualify for federal aid. You know, many of our cable telecommunications companies also had programs offering very low cost or free hotspots for families struggling with online education. Many of those programs have terminated or are terminating, and so it's going to be up to the college and the foundation and the community to figure out how we can replace that type of technological access so that our students can continue to pursue their education. I'd like to now go to the second point, and that's the issue of diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is rightfully being brought to the forefront of our lives. Our college was already reeling from the aftermath of the defacement and censorship by a college vice president of an art installation marking the internment of local Japanese Americans during World War II. And part of the placard describing what had happened to the Japanese Americans in the Bellevue area was altered. And this created a huge controversy on campus, which ultimately led to the departure of the vice president and even the college president. Shortly after was the brutal killing of George Floyd, which then took another emotional toll on the campus, compounding the issues that Bellevue College was already grappling with. George Floyd's death, along with that of Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, Tony McDade, and even closer to home, Manuel Ellis in Tacoma, and countless others, have propelled, I think, our entire country into a long overdue examination of systemic racism and racial injustice. At Bellevue College, we know that our Black students, faculty, and staff have been and continue to be traumatized by the relentless violence against them and their families. But I'm also really heartened by the college's response and the really tough and courageous conversations among faculty, staff, and students so far. You know, ending racism, whether it's on a college campus or in a workplace or in general society, ending discrimination and injustice against any and all groups requires us to really listen deeply to each other and to be open and to learn from our mistakes. At the college, we're working to ensure that the values of diversity, equity, and inclusion are infused in everything we do. But we, quite frankly, have a long ways to go. You know, institutions of higher education play a critical role in studying and analyzing past and present societies, as well as the components of an equitable society. So institutions of higher education, therefore, should be leading by example. I'd like to raise the final point, and that's about the economic impact on COVID-19 to state funding for higher education. The huge drop in sales tax and B&O tax collections brought on by the coronavirus and the economic upheaval means that our colleges and universities, public colleges, universities, will face very significant budget cuts over the next 3 years. Bellevue College is already a very fiscally efficient operation with significantly more funds designated for instruction and student support versus in administration, general administration, than the statewide average for community and technical colleges. But any budget cuts from the state will only and can only impact courses and programs that we offer to our students at a time when we need even more education so that our children, relatives, friends, and neighbors have the skills they need to secure a job or to hang on to the job that they already have or to even move up within the organization. Before the pandemic, it was projected that nearly 750,000 jobs would be opened in the state of Washington over the next 5 years. Well, that's probably no longer going to happen, but the point of that is that the future jobs of our state, the majority of those, and especially those that support upward mobility and good quality of life, require post-secondary education. Since the start of the pandemic, the correlation between education attainment and job security has only magnified. In May of 2020, almost 16% of the workers in the United States with only a high school diploma were unemployed. Almost 16% of those with only a high school diploma were unemployed, which is more than twice the unemployment rate for those with a bachelor's degree. 56% of Black households, 60% of Hispanic households reported a loss of employment income due to the pandemic, compared to 47% of Asian households and 44% of white households. So not only do we have high unemployment, but for those who were not out of a job, but saw their jobs cut back or their job income cut back, we have huge disparities among different ethnic groups. So like the Great Recession of 2008, many communities of color, young workers, and those with a high school diploma or less are again bearing the brunt of this COVID-19 recession. So it's really critical that our state colleges and universities have the funding to serve all students who want to attend, and that our students have the financial means to pay for tuition and to stay focused on their studies and to graduate with that all-important credential or degree. If students can't obtain the higher education and skills needed to be competitive for careers in local industries, where will our employers in this region turn to fill the positions that inevitably be opened up and to keep our economy growing and thriving? So I hope our leaders in Olympia understand that whatever strategies they're putting together to help recover the economy, funding for higher education, our community technical colleges have to be part of that solution. You know, at the very, very beginning, I think Jeffrey and Admiral Center were talking about just all the great things that our region has accomplished. You know, we have much to be proud of. We have great talent, creativity, and that innovative spirit that we're really known for. But we also have challenges. But we also have resources too, and that's our people. And we have a wellspring of students who are eager to apply whatever they're learning to the challenges that we face. And so higher education is really an investment in our community. And investing in higher education is one that we cannot not make. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Gary. We're going to now pivot to Ken to help line up the Q&A. But again, under the banner of Small World, in addition to my collaboration at IBM with Stephen Locke, former IBM colleague Greg Dietzel is on your board. So say hello to Greg for me. Quick question for myself, Gary. I actually was surprised a bit when I heard about your election to interim, only because it didn't sort of map to how I think of you in the public space. Can you talk a little personally about what drew you to this challenge and your thoughts about trying to convert the interim out of your job title?
Well, it was only advertised as interim, so I don't know whether or not I'm even eligible to apply for a longer position, and who knows how long this interim will be. But I've always had a fascination with higher education policy and funding. I've always, even as a state legislator, studied how other states approached funding for higher education. And I've always enjoyed being on campus. And I think that's one of the things that drew me to this position. Certainly, there's a need for healing on this campus after the defacement of the mural and the alteration of the inscription. It really put the campus in a lot of turmoil. And so I saw my job really, I saw the need for healing and bringing calm to the campus. But I've also love the energy that's on a college campus, the excitement, the enthusiasm, the vitality of the students, and of course the intellectual rigor of the faculty. So I've always found being on a college campus a really thrilling, exciting a place. And then I very much enjoy management. I love trying to tackle bureaucracies and streamline things and make things more efficient and friendly for the users of those services. And certainly higher education, any higher education institution has a history of long-standing tradition and bureaucracies as well. And so I think we need to try to figure out how to really improve the academic outcomes of students from wherever they start and ensure that we're having more graduate, having more succeed, and especially students of color as
Well,
we try to
access
address
to,
as we try to address some of these issues of income inequality and knowing how valuable a college education is for upward mobility and stability of our families.
access to higher education has been a hallmark of leveling the playing field in our democracy ever since the GI Bill after World War II. Thank you. Ken, it's all yours.
All right, so welcome back to our club, Jeff. Jeff, really? President. That was, you see what just happened, and that was pretty funny. All right, so let me get to the questions. Why are we having international students subsidize our in-state students? Shouldn't we be able to raise the needed funds for our in-state students ourselves? What message does this send to the rest of the world? Go ahead, Gary.
All right. It would be great if state support were sufficient to cover the full cost of educating a student. So Olympia sends us some dollars based on basically the number of students we have. And then we are able to charge tuition, but Olympia has actually restricted our tuition setting authority. And so when you add the dollars that Olympia provides for basically so many in-state students, and then you add the tuition that in-state students pay, oftentimes it doesn't cover the full cost of providing services, especially if you want to emphasize advising and counseling and things like that. Colleges and universities, that's why colleges and universities turn to private fundraising and have huge foundations or endowments. And they try to offer some programs that are almost profit generators, whether it's for in career programs and things like that, or personal enrichment programs, you know, students who want to go back and take a yoga course or a dance course or learn how to use a computer or learn foreign languages. We're trying to make sure that those programs generate a little bit extra money to help offset the cost of educating our in-state students. And especially some of these programs are very, very high cost programs, whether it's when we have to buy all this equipment to teach people how to use an ultrasound or MRI machines and things like that. You also got to pay for that equipment.
All right, very good. Gary, next question. Bellevue College has a large number of students with disabilities who may not adapt as easily as others to online and hybrid learning models. How do you ensure equal access for those students going forward?
Well, that is a challenge. That's why trying to make sure that we have computers for those who have sensory disabilities and things like that, that is a huge challenge. The nice thing is that we have quite a few organizations and departments on campus that are focused on ensuring that disabled students, whatever that disability, are able to function. And we also have a program for those with neural issues, such as autism. We have a really great program, and I actually have some relatives who have actually attended Bellevue College and actually thrived with the programs that we have here.
All right, very good. Still got a couple of minutes left. Can you speak to what you see in philanthropy for Bellevue College over next year or so, even given the challenges at hand? Bellevue College leadership transitions and COVID, for instance. Interested in what you see with donors' philanthropy in the next year.
Well, philanthropy is going to be more important than ever before, not just for higher education and Bellevue College, but all of our organizations across the Puget Sound area and nationally. I mean, we heard earlier about the Boys and Girls Club that Seattle Rotary has helped support, and it's led by Patrick Carter there. But from arts organizations to programs trying to help those who are with food banks and everything else. I mean, with this COVID-19 has really just destroyed or torn apart a lot of the social networks that hold our communities together. I mean, you have so many people who are out of work, or even if they're working only part-time, I mean, they're really struggling to make ends meet. And so we're turning to all these different community organizations to really try to help out. But where do they get their funds? They get their funds from donors. And a lot of the typical fundraising activities and events that organizations rely on, whether it's banquets, the luncheons, or the annual meetings, galas and things like that, have all been canceled. And so fundraising is being done virtually. You have a virtual breakfast, a virtual dinner, or whatever. Even political fundraisers, you don't have people gathering in a home. You're all trying to do that online. And that's challenging for all of our philanthropic organizations. And equally challenging for the Bellevue Foundation, which provides so much funds to reward excellence among our faculty, to provide incentive funds for innovation, as well as student support. So we're all going to have to, all of us are going to have to be very, very creative in trying to continue to attract charitable contributions and philanthropic donations, because the need now is so much greater than ever before. When you have, so many people out of work, so many businesses that are barely surviving, and unfortunately many businesses that will be closing permanently. So it's a real tough challenge, and that's why organizations like Seattle Rotary come into play and are so important. Bringing people together, focusing on the needs of the community, and not just with money, but also people power. And so I really appreciate the great work that Seattle Rotary does day in and day out, has always done, and will continue to do.
All right, so we've got 45 seconds left. I'm going to shove this question in. I'm going to ask if we can get a real quick response, which may be difficult given the question. Governor Locke, can you share what appealed to you about taking on this challenge as the interim role at Bellevue College?
The excitement, the energy on campus, the young people. I also love management challenges, and I think I can help perhaps bring some fiscal stability and additional resources to the college. I think that was less than 45 seconds.
You did it. You nailed it. Gary Locke, thank you so much for everything you're doing at the college and everything that you've done for our state. We really appreciate it. And we appreciate you being a great guest today. And for everybody that I did not get to their questions, I apologize, as I do every week. There's just so many great questions, but we always seem to run out of time. So I think in the future, we're going to have the guest speak for 5 minutes, and we'll have 25 minutes of Q&A. No.
If I could just close by saying one thing. Just a few hours ago, we lost Senator Slade Gorton. He passed away at the age of 92. He was a man of incredible principle. And I hope some of you might have a chance to read some of the stories and write-ups, obituaries of Senator Slade Gorton. He was a man that really stuck to principle, and even if it made him unpopular within his own party or other constituent groups, he always did what he felt was best, good public policy. And we're certainly going to miss him.
Well, Gary, thank you. And we concur and really appreciate the time you shared with us today. Thank you for your commitment and your longstanding public service to our state, our country, and the world. So thank you so much. We'll be watching. We're wishing you the best of luck.
All right, thank you. Keep up the great work.